Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 61 to 65 of chapter 2. Tani sarvani sanyamya,
Tani sarvani sanyamya,
yukta asita matparaha,
yukta asita matparaha,
vashe hi yasyendriyani,
vashe hi yasyendriyani,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
sangasteshu pajayate,
sangasteshu pajayate,
sangat sanjayate kamaha,
sangat sanjayate kamaha,
kamat krodho bhijayate,
kamat krodho bhijayate,
krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
buddhinashat pranashyati,
buddhinashat pranashyati,
ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
vishayanindriyaischaran,
vishayanindriyaischaran,
atmavasyairvidheyatma,
atmavasyairvidheyatma,
prasadamadigacchati,
prasadamadigacchati,
prasade sarvadukhanam,
prasade sarvadukhanam,
हानिरस्योपजायते
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So last week we were getting into more depth of the verse number 62. You know, I have repeatedly been telling you that the length of the study really does not matter. It is how deep you go inside these verses which matter. And even when I say how deep you go inside these verses, again I am not talking of a mere external analysis. We are not trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita. I'm saying in this yogic approach. We are not trying to understand any of these verses in the yogic approach. When you take an intellectual approach, your goal will be to understand the principles which are given in the scriptures. When I say Bhagavad Gita, we're talking of any scripture. So whenever you want to understand the principles given out in a scripture, that is a mere intellectual approach. You are not a sadhak. Now in the yogic approach, we are not interested in understanding these verses per se. The goal is not to understand the Bhagavad Gita or any scripture. The goal is to realize yourself. The goal is to understand what is happening within you. The goal is to understand your own mind through these verses. See, if you really think about it, if you ask me, do you require all this knowledge? Not required. On paper, all you need to do is just close your eyes and start observing your own mind. You will begin to understand everything. This entire Bhagavad Gita will come out of you. But unfortunately, you will not be able to do it. The reason is because you are not apart from your mind today. Your consciousness has identified with the mind completely, and the mind is ruling you today. Now when the mind is ruling you, if you close your eyes and if you try to do the sadhana, the mind will not allow you to do the sadhana. It will spin more and more illusions. That is why you require external help. But once you advance to a very high level, then the relationship between the master and the student is no longer external, will no longer be external. You will learn to connect with the master at the subtle level and you will get that inner guidance. So there is a very big difference between having a goal of understanding these verses and having a goal of understanding yourself, your own mind. In this context, I am saying mind because in verse 62, it's a complete psychology of the mind. So when you have the goal of understanding your mind through this verse, then your whole focus shifts from mere intellection to sadhana. So ultimately, you are that infinite. There is nothing outside you which can give you anything, because everything is there within you. See, whatever it is that you are trying to acquire from outside, why are you doing that? In order to become happy. But that happiness is already there within you. The entire Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, this ancient wisdom is there within you. It is lying in your fourth body called the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Vijnanamaya means the body of wisdom. But since you are under the clutches of your own mind and you are going through these various modifications, uncontrolled thoughts, you are unable to awaken that wisdom from within you. That is why the external help is required. But when the external help is given, if you stop with that and you say, oh, how wonderful, I have understood these verses, then there is no more sadhana for you. So every week, when this wisdom is being given to you, more and more depth is being added, more and more energy is being given to you. By the end of the session, if you feel it is so wonderful, I have made a start, then you have got the right, you've got into the right spirit of being a sadhak. But the moment you feel, oh, I have understood everything, then you have missed the very spirit of sadhana. Who is a master? I have always been telling you, a master is one who never considers himself to be a master. The world may say he is a master, but he is always learning. Nitya Shishya, as Bhagavan Dattatreya said. And what is it that he is learning? This infinite science. And by the very definition, it is infinite in nature. So the more you learn, the more there is to learn. Remember that. It is a very, very deep science, the science of the individual. So all this analysis which is being made and all this wisdom which is being given to you is aimed only to make you go within yourself, so that your experiential understanding, we cannot use the word understanding there because understanding is at the intellectual level. Feeling means it's at the mental level. But that's why I'm adding the word experiential. Experiential understanding, experiential feeling. When you get that sort of a wisdom about your own mind, that is when you're truly getting into the spirit of these verses. Because when a master gives out these truths, he is talking from a direct experience. he actually does not need any text or any scripture. Whatever he is giving out becomes a scripture. See, what is the Veda? The four Vedas. Vedas mean to know, but it is also called Shruti. Shruti means that which has been heard. Why do they call it the Shruti? When these great masters sat in meditation, they received all the messages, which is all those messages are there within you only. So when they got connected to the infinite, they heard, as it were, I'm putting it in quotes, all the revelations they received. And then they gave it out. Whatever they received in the deep meditation, they gave it out to their students. So what they heard within themselves, as it were, in deep meditation was given out. And that is why it is called Shrutihi. If you go to Sikhism, the Guru Granth Sahib, they use the word Guru Vani, Gurbani. Guru Vani means the words of the Guru. They lay so much of emphasis on the words of the Guru. More than the Guru, they say the Vani of the Guru is what is important. Why? Because whatever words the masters are giving out, that is coming from their experience, the inner experience, having got connected with the infinite. So you should also slowly do the sadhana and use these verses, whatever wisdom is being given to you, to go within and start mastering this ancient science, the science of self-mastery. When your approach is external, you will gain information. When your approach is internal, that is a yogic approach, you will get a transformation. What is the use of mere information if it does not create a transformation within you? Earlier you knew 10 things, now you know 20 more things. So what? What difference has it made to your life and to the lives of the people around you? Has it made you more happy? Has it made the people around you happy? That is also very important. Because some people say, I have mastered this, sir, I have mastered. I tell them, no. You bring your family members. I will ask them. They will have to say that yes, he is mastered the spirituality. Usually there will be a conflict. You will say I am spiritual, but people who are closest to you, your family members and all that, they will have a different opinion about you. So whom should you believe? In this case, I would suggest go by what they are saying. Because your ego can play such a trick, A true master, he will always be connected with the infinite, but at the same time, he will never lose sight of practicality. You should follow the same principle when you're gaining this wisdom. Whenever a master talks from the highest level and he gives you that wisdom, that is meant to inspire you to do your sadhana. That is not meant for a direct practice immediately. What should you practice? For that, he gives you various practical tips. It is always a combination. In the entire Bhagavad Gita, you will find that sometimes Krishna talks of the highest, and then he will come down and he will give practical tips. Again, he will raise the energy. He will go to a different frequency, give out many truths. Again, he'll come down, give various practical tips. If you go to the Upanishads also, they follow the same style. In any scripture, they will follow this style only. And if you go to a master for guidance, he will also do the same thing. Sometimes you will see that he steps up the level and he directly gives you that experience, a glimpse, with the energy. But that is not for you to immediately, practice. That is meant for inspiration. So whenever a master gives the highest wisdom, use it to get inspired so that you can do your sadhana consistently. Because in order to do sadhana consistently, you require inspiration. This is a long race which you are running in. It is not a one-day thing or two-day thing. When I say do Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, I mean for the rest of your life. So after a while, there will be a tendency to slacken. So whenever a master sees that a student is slackening, he'll immediately provide that inspiration. And then he will also give the practical tips. What should the sadhak practice? Various tips will be given. So use the relative knowledge which is being given for your practice and use the absolute knowledge whenever it is being given to just increase your inspiration for you to practice better, for you to do your sadhana better. This is very important. Because last week, when I was giving you that dimension of dhyato, that is imagination, I had suddenly stepped up the level. In all the messages, the mails and the comment, whatever messages which you had put in the YouTube comment section, all that, I was able to see that all of you had got tremendously inspired. But then be careful. Don't lose sight of practicality. Because I read one message from a sadhak. He has written this, when the moment Yogishri said, you are Purnam, that is ultimate solution. Yes. And you are able to relate to that because you are connected to that extent. But then there was one line mentioned by the sadhak. So today I am not going to write the summary of any points, the practical tips which was given by the master, he says. That is a very dangerous thing. I am just cautioning, because all those who are putting down something in the YouTube comment section, I am taking personal interest, and it becomes my duty to guide you. So never should this happen. The moment you get into that extreme, then you need to pull yourself up. So when it was said that you are that infinite, you are Purnam, you have that infinite happiness within you, I told you, drop your logic, drop everything and just absorb that energy. That would have immediately lifted your consciousness. And last week's meditation would have taken you to a different level. But then you should balance it by doing the practical sadhana also. This is very, very important. Whenever you go to this extreme, the master will pull you this side. Whenever you go to that extreme, the master will again pull you back to the center. That is the work of a guru. So when you are very, very deeply connected and when you are gaining so much of wisdom, you should be a little careful in not slipping into these extremes. So you are that infinite being. You have infinite happiness within you. Nothing in the world actually can give you happiness. You are the source of happiness. You are in a position to give happiness to others. Why should you go and beg for happiness from outside? I am deliberately using the word begging. Kamaha is literally begging only. Ichha Shakti, Ichha, that is also desire, willful desire, that is not begging. You are already happy. And in order to function in life, you are generating a thought flow. There is a world of a difference. So when you are a multi-billionaire, why should you go in search of a job? You have a business empire and you are in a position to give jobs to thousands of people. I'm using this example to say that you have that infinite wealth within you. You are in a position to give happiness to others. So this is the long-term solution. By doing sadhana and slowly getting established in that infinite aspect within you, you will start becoming a complete individual, a Purnam. In the Mahashiva Dhyana, Yoga Sankirtan audio, in the end, if you remember that Om Purnamada, that mantra has been chanted. That is to make you experience and that completeness within you. And day by day, when you keep doing the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, slowly you will complete yourself. You will attain the state of Purnatvam. From a practical level, what should you do? That also he is covering. Actually, the entire Bhagavad Gita, he gives so many practical tips. Because even though you are in essence that Purnam, that infinite, what has happened is due to ignorance, you moved away from that infinite. You got disconnected from the infinite. And today the mind has started running on its own. So many thoughts have been generated and lot of desires, kamaha, without your control. And then some of them are in the fulfilled stage, purti stage, some of them are in the apurti stage, some of them are in the vignaha stage, that is they are obstructed. And according to what stage they are in, they have developed various modifications and you are in the midst of those modifications. So in order to come out of this, you require the practical tips. Otherwise, why should we study the mind? Tell me. Straight away you can just sit and say, I am the infinite. Now finished, over. That will be only verbal. So when I am saying you are the infinite, you have infinite happiness within you, that is not meant for you to repeat mechanically or to go and tell others. No, that is meant for you to absorb deep within you and do your sadhana every day. And whenever these practical tips are being given, that is meant for you to directly apply in your life. So remember this. in the name of this wisdom, don't become imbalanced. If you are a sadhak, if you are growing spiritually, you will take care of all your duties, you will do all your duties to perfection, you will be very much approachable. There will be a sweetness about you. You will not keep philosophizing to everyone. See, the moment there is a tendency to philosophize things unnecessarily, it means you have not absorbed it. I'm cautioning you because I'm going to give you more and more as we go along. We'll be going into such depths. So this caution is very much necessary. So when you're trying to understand your own mind, when you're trying to actually get an experiential wisdom of your own mind, many blocks will come. One of the blocks is this itself. That is, the moment you may take up the higher aspect of this wisdom, and you may say, when I am Purnam, I am the infinite, why should I be bothered about what the mind is and all that? If you are truly at that level, it's a different thing. But the master will immediately recognize if you are at that level. But you should understand what level you are in. Another block which will come when you're trying to practice these things is the ego. That is, to accept that I have these modifications, I have bhaya, there is fear, I have pride. Pride in the sense, in the negative sense. See, sometimes we say, be proud of your achievements in a positive sense. I am not meaning in the positive sense. Pride here means I am talking of superiority complex, or you may have inferiority complex, or the greed, or you may be in depression, or you may have anger, guilt. All these modifications will be there. But the ego will come and prevent you from accepting that you have these modifications. There has been a question asked by a sadhak, Shiva, from New Jersey. He has put it in the YouTube comment section. I'm just reading that question, which is very much relevant here, So what he has asked is, Dearest Yogishri, Hari Om, it was another brilliant and inspiring session. So he has given all the points: uncontrolled desire, desire is fulfilled, recapitulated all the points, which is the sadhana, which all of you need to do. And then if desire is obstructed, it can lead to pain, guilt, anger, all the points is given. And then I can clearly see which of these modifications I should start working on and getting to the source. But I do find that ego gets in the way of doing so. How to overcome this? Thank you for your continued guidance. This is a brilliant question which Shiva has asked. See, I never mentioned about ego. When you are truthful and when you absorb everything which the master is giving, and when you start doing your sadhana, automatically the wisdom starts flowing. So that is why you are able to see clearly. Yes, I have to handle these modifications, but the ego is coming as a block. How do you overcome that? Actually, to understand that the ego is a block is the most difficult thing. See, when you're caught up with these modifications, what is behind all this is actually the ego. What is behind kamaha is the ego only. So to say that yes, I have ego due to which it is not allowing me to be frank with myself. It is not allowing me to accept that I have these modifications. To get to that level of understanding is the most difficult thing. So the moment you get that understanding, this question itself need not be asked. As long as you are controlled by the ego, you will never be able to say that yes, I have ego and how do I solve it. The moment you say I have ego, I need to find a solution, you have already found a solution, because to that extent you have separated yourself, that is your consciousness, from the ego. Now just start practicing, no techniques. Don't ask me how to overcome the ego. Just put in your efforts in this direction. Sit and start your self-study. Sit and start doing your sadhana. You will find that the ego will not have any power. As long as you are one with the ego, or rather you are controlled by the ego, that is when this question comes, how do I handle the ego? All the various tips have to be given. But the moment you say, I am able to see that ego is coming in between, you have already separated yourself. You have become very powerful now. So now don't be bothered about the ego. Do the sadhana and get established more in your infinite stature. Start applying this. That is not the stage where you should ask questions. Till that stage you should ask questions. But the moment you have started seeing what is happening within yourself, now no more questions. Just start practicing. It is like, a person who is standing at the edge of a swimming pool and is asking the coach, now what should I do? How should I exactly jump? No technique. The coach will just come and push him. Just jump, that's all. Just start practicing. So as a message to others also, it's very nice when a sadhak asks these kind of questions, because it gives a context for the master also to give out these subtler points. So for others also who are doing the sadhana, the whole sadhana is to separate yourself from your ego, from your own mind. To the extent you are able to do that, to that extent you will be successful in your sadhana. So this is the second block, and the way to overcome the block is embedded in the sadhana of separation, which I did mention last time. I told you about the deep breathing technique. So practice that. Then you will find that the ego will get subdued. Start working on the modifications. Don't ask me here, what should I do? What should I do? I'll only push you into the pool and say, start swimming. The other techniques we'll see later. So this is the second obstacle which you will face. There is also another obstacle which as sadhaks you will face when you're trying to practice this. That is, you may slip into over-analysis. Again, another sadhak has asked this question, Samyukt. She has asked this question. I'm just reading the question out for the benefit of all the sadhaks. Samyukt Maheta has asked this. Thank you so much, Yogishri, for such an insightful session. So, and then she has said, I always wondered why these desires are popping out of the blue. So all this, she says the explanation about how the mind uses desires as a mechanism to make up for the incompleteness. All this has given me a lot of clarity. The session was really helpful. So after giving out her points, the question which she has asked is, I have one doubt regarding the sadhana of tracing out our deeper desires. When I was trying to trace out the causes, Sometimes I got distracted and started to overthink a lot, she says. It tires me out. This is something that I often fall a prey to in general as well. How do I differentiate between penetrating deeper to understand the workings of my mind and overthinking? How do I stop myself from overthinking? Deepest gratitude for all the wisdom and unconditional love you shower upon us. So again, this is a very good question. I had not planned to cover all these because these were meant, I thought enough, you know, now you do the sadhana and discover things. But when you sadhaks, when you do the sadhana sincerely, and then when you come up with this, it becomes my obligation to give some more subtler tips, you know. So it's a very, very valid thing which she is saying. So when you're doing your sadhana, sometimes what can happen is you can slip into overthinking or over analysis. Be very cautious about that. Why is it that you get into this overthinking or over analysis? When your focus shifts from solutions to an external analysis, that is when this tendency to do over analysis will happen. So remember, see, the solution to this is use analysis as a tool for you to penetrate. That's all. Only to the extent you should analyze, should you analyze. More than that, when the analytical tendency keeps coming, and when you start doing overthinking, Samyukta has rightly observed there, when she does that, that tires her out, she says. Then it is no longer sadhana. Sadhana should refresh you. What should you do? Again, go back to that breathing technique. Release that tendency of overthinking just by doing deep breathing. It is only your intention, your will, is using your willpower that you can gain mastery over all these tendencies. See, when you're trying to do your sadhana sincerely, when you're trying to overcome these modifications, now you're trying to go to the source of the problem, and you're in the process of dissolving the negativities of the mind. You're in the process of dissolving the ego. So the mind will not like that. So it will bring out these kind of obstacles and try to keep distracting you, try to take you away from the path. So you can be vigilant and easily solve it. So do this analysis to the extent you feel refreshed. It should give you a lot of energy. But the moment you start getting tired, now stop the analysis, because you are no longer analyzing as a sadhak. Again the mind has started taking over, and it is happening in an uncontrolled way. See, the whole theme of verse number 62 is uncontrolled thoughts. Now, the very analysis or the penetration which you're trying to do, that itself can become uncontrolled if you're not careful. So at that time you say, enough, I'll stop with this, I will do my sadhana. Try to directly feel, because there is nothing to analyze so much in this. If you have a particular modification, I am angry. Now what is my desire? If you are very truthful, if you do the sadhana, the desire, you will be able to locate your desire. If you are unable to locate your desire, because as I told you last week, sometimes the desire can be subtle, no issue. Put this intention, I want to find what the source of this modification is. And then leave it. Continue with your regular sadhana, the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. First day, second day, third day, suddenly your the clarity will be given to you, and it will flash in your mind. This is like a picture, it will come out. I gave you that example of that man who used to get angry, and then when he did the sadhana, like a movie, it came before him. That was a desire which was obstructed by his parents when he was when he was studying. He wanted to become a doctor, but his father refused to support that, and he made him become an engineer in the same field, some degree he got. Now that thing was shown to him. So sometimes you will be able to get it directly. Sometimes it may require a little more effort. So you need to learn to relax also during those phases. So the solution, the path is actually a straightforward one, but lot of blocks, internal blocks will keep coming. So no issues as long as you have surrendered to the higher, as long as you are devoted to your guru and you are following things sincerely to the best of your ability, these obstacles will all be removed one by one. The higher grace will start flowing. So a human being, I'm just summarizing before we go to the next verse. A human being thinking on sense objects develops attachment for them. From attachment is born desire, and from desire is born anger, the various modifications. And we're taking anger as an example. Okay? So now we'll go to verse number 63.
क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः
क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः
सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः
सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः
स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः
स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः
बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः. From anger, from krodha, arises delusion, sammoha. Now, this is the second half of the ladder of fall. So remember, we are doing the ladder of fall. How you come down from the infinite to the finite. So in verse number 62, he covered the first half, and now he is going to cover the second half, which is the depth is going to increase. So what is he saying? Krodhat bhavati sammoha. From anger arises delusion. So up to anger we saw the previous verse. So he's continuing. And then what happens? Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. From delusion, what happens is smriti vibhramaha. Smriti means memory. There is vibhramaha means confusion. There is confusion of memory, he says. And then smriti bhramshat, from confusion of memory, what happens? Buddhi nashaha. Laws of intellect. So what he means by buddhi, all that we'll be seeing. It's a very, very deep verse, no? And then finally, buddhi nashat. From loss of intellect, what happens? Pranashyati. Total destruction. Nashyati means destruction. Pranashyati means destruction is complete. Total destruction. if I stop with that, and now supposing, let us say, the lecture is over here, it's a it's a very dangerous thing, because now everything has gone total destruction, finished. That is why what I'm doing is applying the yogic approach when we are doing these verses, where at every step I'm also giving you the practical tips, the sadhana tips, the solutions, so that you don't, your spirits don't come down. See, one way is, if we don't use a yogic approach, we can study all these verses within one session. So there, you would have read the problem, you would have also got the solutions. Everything put together will not create a negative effect. But there is one big issue there, that is, you wouldn't have gone into the depth of the verses. So the deep principles, the deep wisdom you will miss, and that is what is most important. So therefore, in yogic approach, what we do is, we don't cover too much of length, we go into the depth. But the problem there is, supposing, let's say, we are studying about one negative quality. If we go too much into the depth of it, there is a chance that a fear may set in, a sadhak, a sense of hopelessness. My God, so many negativities are there. Now what should I do? So that is why what is always suggested is, in the yogic approach, whenever you go into the depth, simultaneously the practical tips are also given. The sadhana messages you need to eke out and start practicing. That is what will help. So what is he saying here? First he says, from anger arises delusion, sammoha. Very powerful word he uses, moha. Moha means delusion, that is loss of consciousness, ignorance, infatuation, mistake, pain. All these things are different dimensions of moha. I'll explain all those dimensions, because in each step he is approaching this so beautifully, step by step, and in each step we get so many sadhana tips, which we should absorb and start practicing. So from anger arises delusion. So remember, anger is only an example. So I gave you a list of an exhaustive list of modifications, many modifications we had covered in verse number 62. So whenever he uses the word anger, immediately you understand it as one of the modifications, because some people may not have this weakness of anger. So I know a person who doesn't suffer from this weakness of anger, but he has fear. But since that is not mentioned here, he genuinely thought, oh, Krishna here is saying anger will lead to delusion. I don't have anger. I'm basically I'm not a short-tempered person. So I'm fine. These verses are not meant for me. No. When he says anger, one of those modifications. So when you get into the modifications, he says what will happen is delusion will arise. Now before we get into what moha is, because moha has many dimensions, and then he says sammoha. Sammoha means, some means intense. It emphasizes on intensity of something. So sammoha means intensely. There is a completeness about it, This completeness should not be confused with Purnam, the completeness of the infinite. What I'm saying is, we say completely deluded, we say, no? That's what it means. From anger arises delusion. So we'll go into the deeper aspects of moha. But before that, there is one very interesting word which he's using, that is bhavati. He says, we have translated it as from anger arises delusion, because that goes along with the flow. But actual word which he uses is krodhat bhavati sammoha. The word bhavati has two dimensions again. One means arises, that is produced. There is another dimension of bhavati. Bhavati means becomes. Now, if you remember, in verse number 62, what was the word which he used? We'll just see that. He said, from dhyayato, that is from thinking, the sangaha, attachment is developed. He used the word jayate. The base of verse number 62 was jayate. He said upajayate, then he said sanjayate, and then he used the word abhijayate. You all remember that? So I explained to you, jayate means producing. So when he said upajayate, sanjayate and abhijayate, different grades he was getting into. Upajayate means association, and then sanjayate means very intense. Abhijayate means completely ruled over. So when he came to the modifications, he used the strong prefix abhi, and he said abhijayate. So jayate essentially means that which arises, that which is produced. But here, when he talks of when he gets into the second half of the ladder of fall, he changes the word from jayate to bhavati. There is a very, very deep sadhana message. There is a very deep message for sadhaks in that. It is up to the modifications level. The word is jayate, that is from casual thoughts you may get the attachment is produced, what arises is attachment. From attachment arises kamaha, from kamaha arises the various modifications. But the moment you get into the modification stage, the next stage is a very, very dangerous stage. The anger, from anger arises delusion. Actually, anger becomes delusion. Bhavati has the second dimension, which means become. Now, why is this word so apt here? It's because if you're not careful, whenever you get into any of these modifications, let's take the example of anger itself. What will happen is, initially the anger will be there, and as the anger goes on increasing, a time will come when you will become anger as it were. The anger emotion or any other modification will completely possess you. It will not only possess you, because when you're saying I am possessing something, it means the possessed and the possessor are different. When you say this is my cell phone, you're possessing the cell phone. The cell phone is different, you are different. That is the stage of modifications, which we saw in verse 62. But here what he's saying is, once you are completely possessed, once that abhijayate happens, then there is a big danger. The anger will slowly possess you, it will consume you completely, and you will become one with anger. Whatever your identity is will be completely covered by anger. You will not be yourself. you will become a personification of anger. That stage is what he calls as moha. Today I will give you, we will understand moha through this word bhavati. And then next week I will give you the direct dimensions of moha. Because it's very difficult to pass these verses when we are doing the yogic approach, So, bhavati means becoming. When you look at a person who is very, very angry, when you are having a slight anger, you are still separate from that anger. But as the anger increases, a time would come where the rest of your personality, all the sweet qualities you may have, you may be a wonderful person otherwise, everything will get hidden, will get completely enveloped by that anger. The anger will not only possess you anymore, it will cover up the rest of your personality, and what you will become is just an angry person. You will become a manifestation of that anger in totality. That stage is a very, very dangerous stage. That is called moha, delusion. If you get into that stage, the next thing that will happen is confusion of memory. You will not know what you're saying. You will not remember where you are, who you are, to whom you're talking to. Like whom you're talking to may be your own boss, but you will say things which may cost your job also. Or whomever you're talking to may be someone who is very dear and near to you. But it may be your own parents, it may be your own spouse, it may be your own child. But you will say and do things which you will normally not do. That is what is the next step. I am covering this verse today in an overall way so that you get a general idea. Then we will go to the specifics. That is called confusion of memory. You completely lose sight of the context. And then confusion of memory, he says your intellect has gone. Intellect means awareness. You will not be aware of anything. Intellect here doesn't mean bookish knowledge. It doesn't mean analysis. The analysis is also part of it. Many aspects of the intellect are there. We'll see that in detail. But in general terms, completely awareness will go away. And when awareness goes away, it is total destruction. Anything can happen. I was reading an article. This is long back, not now. This particular article, I read it almost 25 years back. In Mumbai, there was an incident where a lady was taking care of her baby, a mother was taking care of her baby, and the baby was throwing tantrums, the baby goes through various phases of development, and it is a motherly love which gives rise to patience, which can guide the child. Any mother will naturally have that patience, but sometimes it can be very challenging, the tantrums which the baby throws. So this mother, this lady, what happened is she was taking care of her, but she also was suffering from certain relationship issues with her husband, that is the father of the baby. And that particular day, they had a very intense quarrel, and he had stormed out of the house. He was going to office, and he just threw a few things there, and he had gone out. And she was still with that anger, So in that weak moment, the baby also was crying. So she tried to pacify the baby, but the baby was not getting pacified. In just a moment of anger, what she did was, there was a pencil, lying there. She just took the pencil and struck the baby on the top of the head. The baby was severely injured. She herself ran to the hospital. She was actually given treatment, psychological treatment. Here, when I read that, I was able to empathize with her emotions. See, on one hand, she loves the baby so much. On the other hand, her own emotions were not under her control. So when that anger took over, when it started possessing her, the next stage is moha. She became a manifestation of that anger. Thereafter, that leads to confusion of memory. She forgot who she was, that she was a mother, that the baby was her little, darling child. All that she forgot. Result was, she harmed her own baby, and later on she was regretting. Of course, fortunately, it was it was not a very big injury, but it could have been. That's what the doctors were saying. That's why they suggested that you should go to a psychiatrist and also take some treatment. They insisted on that. So this is what can happen. So the second half has been deliberately put as a separate verse by Vyasa, because the intensity of the problem increases. Of course, what should you do when you are in this sometimes you may get into the second half? That also we'll be seeing. But first you need to understand the depth of what he's saying. So it all starts with this word bhavati. Krodhat bhavati. That sets the tone, that sets the context, the foundation for verse number 63. In verse number 62, what set the context? Dhyayato. Dhyayato means just allowing the mind to go on its own. It just starts rambling, That set the context. And then from there, how the whole thing, that led to the modifications. What is setting the context in verse number 63 is the word bhavati. When you are having an emotion, it is one level of ignorance, it is one level of danger, especially when it's a negative emotion. But when you become that emotion, then the real danger starts. That is why he starts off with saying, Krodhat bhavati sammoha. What do we mean by becoming an emotion? Or the rest of your nature, all the other qualities become dormant temporarily. Like if you take that example which I gave you, the mother and child, that incident which happened many years back in Mumbai. Now, she was actually a very nice person. She was a very sweet person. But all that sweetness got submerged when the emotion took over. That is why what is said by the great yogis is that to have an emotion is a virtue, is a wonderful thing. But if you get possessed by an emotion, if you become emotional, then it is a very dangerous thing, because if you are not careful, it can lead to the stage of moha. That is why I spent so much of time in verse 62, and I gave so many practical tips, so that when we study 63, it should never happen that in life you get into this verse 63. We are going to do the analysis part, because he is giving that wisdom. But you should arrest it in verse 62 itself practically. So many tips I've given, and after that only I've come to verse 63. I've prepared you well enough. So for you all, now when you study verse 63, it will become an interesting study of your own mind. And as I told you, see, you will have different areas of life and different emotions associated with those areas. In each area, you may be at one stage. In some areas, you may be at the dhyato level. Some area, you may be at the sangha, attachment level. Some area, kamaha level. Some area at the modification level. And then in some area, you may be at the delusion level also. So I have built the base very strongly when we did the verse, when we did the previous verse, so that you will be able to use verse 63 effectively for your, effectively as a sadhana. And again, I am reminding you of that word pumsaha, that is, you are a human being and you have that capacity to rise above all the limitations, all the negativities. So whenever you're doing your sadhana, when you feel down, remember your potential as a human being. So krodhat bhavati sammoha. You become that emotion. So in life, first thing is there are two things. One is the emotion can be positive or negative. Like when we say, for example, you feel for someone, that is a positive emotion. You want to help somebody else. It's definitely a positive emotion. Love is a positive emotion. Joy is a positive emotion. Then you have negative emotions like fear, anger, jealousy. So many negative emotions are there. Now, inherently, an emotion can be positive or negative. That is one thing. But whether an emotion is inherently positive or negative, if you don't have control over it, if you get possessed by that emotion, it can lead you to moha. This is what I want you to understand. It's a very, very subtle message, which he is giving by using the word bhavati. Even if you are having a positive emotion, like let us say you want to help others, if that is not under your control, what will happen is that can lead you to trouble. I have got a message. Through this verse itself, I am answering that question. A person has sent me a message through the Facebook. He has sent a message. Now, I am not reading the person's name because it's a personal problem which he has asked for. It's very, very interesting. See why when I am reading this all in the context, it is a very good case study for others also. It is through these kind of examples and incidents which you can understand these deeper principles, you can understand your own life better. So what he's saying is he's 60 years of age. Pranam Yogishri, I'm 60 years of age. He says, I've completed my degree in journalism and mass communication. From Odisha, I shifted to Delhi. But without getting a government job, I've been struggling for my earning source with serving private organizations. I am an ardent listener to your discourses since last February after the pandemic. So the pandemic snatched all my earning sources, got plenty of spare time. I used to learn your regular preaching. Like Ekalavya was listening to Guru Dronacharya hiding behind a tree. Not really, because Ekalavya's motto was not good, your motto is good. And secondly, if you are Ekalavya, then I'll become Drona. Drona was partial, Anyway, I understand the spirit of what you're saying. So similarly, I listen to your regular discourses. This is what the next thing is. What is the main reason for my financial constraint is my weakness of addiction to render financial help to the needy and helpless. In some of my past events, while visiting a customer during lunch hours, while taking my lunch, if I find any child or old age person who's starving, begging for food, I offer them food with whatever money left in my pocket. Like this, he has given many examples where he has genuinely helped people. And see, one incident he has given where he says, he was taking 500 rupees to buy milk and bread for my daughter's breakfast, he says. But then he found someone who required that money, so he helped that person. And he went back home and he just lied to his wife, saying that I lost my 500 rupees. And my daughter left for her school with some old stuff of food for her lunch. So what he has asked is the question, why on such incidents I lost my control and I lost my financial security of my family. Am I doing right or wrong? How can I come out of such financial losses that cause insecurity for my family? Please bless me with meaningful guidance on this problem. Regards, your ardent disciple, he said. Very, very nice bhavana you have, sir. Because generally what they say is, as one grows old, it's very difficult to become flexible. This is what they say. But in my experience, what I found is there is nothing like that. Where there is a will, there is a way. The fact that you have asked this question, you have said I'm 60 years old, but I'm asking this, means a lot of self-introspection you have done. You have truly got connected and you started doing the sadhana, the self-analysis, which is very good. Now, you've asked whether it is right or wrong. See, in spirituality, we never look at rights and wrongs. We see what is harmful to us and others, what is beneficial to us. So, that is what we need to examine. So, why I read this question here is, this is exactly the context. An emotion may be positive, like here in this case, this person, he has a very good emotion of helping others. It is a wonderful emotion. But when that emotion goes out of control, what is the result? You're saying that affects your family. Not only does it affect your family, it affects you also. Because when you require money for something which is very important, like for the further spiritual growth and all that, you are unable to find money. So this is why what our great yogis and rishis, what they said is, they are very, very clear principles they have laid down. They said, when you get into a family life, when you are a grihastha, now how should you handle money? The financial management. They said you should divide the money into various parts. I am giving you a broad outline here. When that context comes more, I'll keep giving more points. They said one portion of your money you should utilize for fulfilling your duties. As a family person, you have duties towards your wife, you have duties towards your children. That becomes your first duty. And then one portion of your money, they set aside a small percentage for enjoyment, present enjoyment of you with the family. And then one portion of your money, they set aside for savings. This you should do. And then one portion, a small portion of your money, they suggested 10 or 11%. If your total income is very less, then you can start with a lesser percentage also. That's not an issue. It's not per se that 11%, but it is the bhavana. So they said set aside around 11% of your income to do good things, charity, to utilize it for your spiritual growth. Because when you want to attain spiritual growth, there will be money involved. Even a sannyasi who came and met me many years back, he wanted to go to the Himalayas and do tapas and all that. He wanted to learn from many masters, but all that involved a certain cost, and he didn't have that money. So he was asking me, what should I do? I said, first earn that. For everything in life, money is very important. That is why they called money as goddess Lakshmi. They considered money as very, very sacred. In our Vedas, all our yogis, our siddhas, they worshipped money as goddess Lakshmi. Never ever should you condemn money. Remember this. This is a wrong concept which people have gotten into. If you condemn money, don't think you're spiritual. You're highly unspiritual the moment you condemn wealth. In Tamil we say, Padinarum Petru Peruvarvarga. Means, Padinarum Petru means when a newly married couple fall at the feet of the elders to take their blessings, they used to bless. Padinarum Peruga means 60. Obtain 16. So some people take it as 16 children. It's not 16 children. 16 different types of wealth, out of which money is one type. Then they say name, fame, so many things, They say all that you should experience in life. So, there is nothing wrong in wealth. There is nothing wrong in helping others. But if that goes out of your control, then in the long run you will lose the capacity to help itself. Supposing you have 1,000 rupees. Immediately you give off the 1,000 rupees to others who are needy. Now, that's it. Your very capacity to help has become zero now. Whereas if you invest that 1,000 rupees to earn, let us say 1 lakh, and then you take a portion of that 1 lakh and give it to needy people. The remaining again you invest it to live your life, to earn more money. That way, your capacity to help others also will go on increasing. So it is a very, very practical, intelligent way which our yogis and siddhas have suggested. So my request to you is, this is a good emotion which you are having. I would never ever say curb that tendency to help others, but that should be well under your control. Any emotion, even if it is inherently positive, if it goes out of your control, it can land you in trouble. Like, I gave you the example long back. In those days, a person won a 1 crore prize in a lottery. The moment he heard that, he had a heart attack. The emotion was that of joy, but that went beyond his control. The result is, he had a heart attack. We're hearing a good news. So, my request to you, my suggestion to you, since you've asked, is that first secure your financial life if you want to grow spiritually. See, how you should apply this wisdom, if you're carefully following my flow, I have always said take care of all the aspects of your life. So in your life, you divide your life into various aspects like finance, relationships. Relationship means spouse, then children, then my career. Like that you divide your life, health. And first find out in which area things are not okay. So in here you have clearly located. You yourself have said your financial area is not located. Then I would say your first goal should be to become well off, to become independent financially. Do the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana with that intention in mind. Put down your goals. This year, how much do I want to earn? It's not about earning alone. How much do I want to save? I require a house. I require so much. Whatever it is, write down. And then start doing the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana every day. You will find that this healing energy, the healing Shakti, every Sunday when you're listening, A lot of healing Shakti is being invoked during the meditation. So all that will start flowing to that area which you want it to flow to. If you don't have a goal, then it will be a general healing only. But the moment you say, I want health or I want wealth, nothing wrong in saying that. Ichha Shakti, that's why I've been emphasizing on Ichha Shakti. You should fix goals in your life. So since the area of, that is the weak area of your life is finance, I would say first put that as your goal and then do the sadhana. Apply this wisdom there. And believe me, when you do that, within a few weeks, few months, you will find that wealth will start flowing into your life. It has happened to many people. Many sadhaks have shared their experiences. Latest is a person from US. He wanted a salary increase. For many years, he didn't get. Once he started doing sadhana, he wrote down his goals. In spite of this being a COVID situation, pandemic, they say that, you will never get an increase now. The boss called him by himself and gave him a double increase. He has sent a mail. How can we explain this logically? Because there is a COVID situation, people are losing their jobs, that is what they are telling me. But here, there are so many people who keep telling me the positive things also which are happening during the same period. So since now you have started listening to the Sunday discourses regularly, now start doing the Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana on a daily basis. First, write down your goals. Today itself you do that. Please don't postpone this. Because when I read that you have a financial difficulty, I genuinely felt, no, that is not good. Because you're 60 years of age. This is the time where it's high time you need to work on that. So write down your goal. And then look for positive avenues, sources of income in your field. And when you do your sadhana, having fixed your goals with the higher grace, with the Guru's grace, all the blocks will be removed and you will be filled with positive energy. And that positive energy will attract more wealth, whatever it is that you want. So please do that, sir. Utilize whatever wisdom is being given to you, do the sadhana and fix your goals. See, unless you use your Ichha Shakti and fix a positive goal, I will not be able to do anything. So fix a clear-cut goal. Don't tell me I have financial losses, I have financial problems, I have diseases, I have this, I have that. That's what everybody is coming and telling. But what I'm saying is, what is it that you want in that? I want to be settled financially. That is not enough. How much do you want this year? Be very, very clear. I want to earn 10 lakhs this year. Whatever be the amount that you fix. So much I require every month. I want this. That is your birthright. Start fixing goals and then do the sadhana with that intention and see. Do it for a few months. And then I'm sure you will have a lot of good things to tell me also. So we will stop with this today. We have entered into verse number 63. That itself you could see it is a very powerful verse. So next week we'll go into more depth. Now we will have meditation. In this meditation, I'm going to prepare you to absorb the deeper messages in verse 63 also. I'll be giving a lot of healing Shakti. And also side by side, I'm preparing you for the 22-day program. And I'm sure all of you are doing the morning and evening preparatory meditation, those of you who have registered. Okay? So sit with your spine straight and gently close your eyes. deep breathing. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. I am not this body. I am not these various emotions and thoughts of the mind. I am that supreme consciousness. The silent observer of my own emotions and thoughts of the mind. I stand apart and observe my own mind, which is full of thoughts, attachments, desires, and various modifications. I derive my strength from the infinite source within me. I am more powerful than my mind. I invoke the blessings of my Guru and all the holy masters to give me that strength in this journey of self-mastery. As a human being, I have infinite powers within me. I have the power to create my life. The body and the mind are tools which have been given to me to fulfill my purpose in life. I am the master of my body. I am the master of my mind. offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head, and neck. And very, very slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So in today's meditation, I had gone back to that basic principle of verse 62, where as a human being, you have all the powers within you. So no doubt the mind has so much of power, the senses and the mind, to create so many modifications, get you deluded. All those things are there. But when you get connected with the infinite, when you're a sadhak, when you're doing sadhana, then you start becoming more powerful than your mind. So these verses actually will give you a lot of confidence if you approach it in the right way. And the other thing is, when I was answering the question to that gentleman about finance, my genuine request to all of you is, apply this wisdom in the areas which are not okay in your life. If your relationship with your spouse is not okay, first you should set that right. I'm giving you enough wisdom. I'm giving you that energy. I've given you the Yoga Sankirtan audio material. Do that and remove the blocks and set that right. If you're down in finance, first get a secure job. See, if we want to complain, we can go on complaining. Remember, a sadhak never wastes his time in complaining. A sadhak is always solution oriented. A great Siddha, he used to say, never complain, always create. So I'm empowering you, I'm giving you with all the material. So using that, first you should start creating positive things in your life. So don't say, I am very highly spiritual, and don't neglect your family, don't neglect your work, don't neglect your finance. Then you are not being spiritual. Spirituality is a combination of, being attuned with the infinite, and at the same time completing all your duties and completing all your experiences here in this three-dimensional world. If you don't do this, then your connection there will get cut off after a while. So that is why our yogis have suggested this. So the Guru's blessings are always there because he is connected with the infinite. The infinite grace is an ever-present thing. So you should become more focused. You should be willing to put that hard work in your field if you want to gain success, wealth and all these things. If you're not, that intention, please bring the positive intention and then do the sadhana. Okay? So thank you very much. We'll meet next week.